Spotlight. I'm Martin and I'll be your MC for today. Well, I know the school year is at its peak and being the most intensive period that all of us have experienced thus far. As such, that we hope that what we are about to present to you spices up your term 3. Well, SAJC Spotlight aims to showcase and literally put the spotlight on our student body, who are obviously brimming with talent. We want to provide a stage for them so that their voices can shine and be heard. Well, you might ask, what makes this event so different from other performances of other public speaking events? Well, that is, the emphasis is not really on the performance of public speaking, but on the story of drive and power, passion and hard work that help them manage and as well as turn who they are today. All of our states definitely have compelling stories to share. As you have heard, our theme is on revival. Well, undoubtedly, the past 2 years plus have been a rocky and shaky one. But through this event, we hope to revive the school spirit by sharing the love and fruits of labor that your fellow peers have for their passions, especially after an extensive period of trial and error, as well as falling down and picking themselves up right back on their feet. Well, as a note of caution, the front 2 doors will be locked and entry and exit will only be available from the back. In order to respect the performers, please enter and exit between performance if necessary. If you'd like to take photos or videos, please refrain from flash photography as not to distract them. As well, also, please switch your phone to silent mode if not done so already. Well, as such, we present to you our first act for today, Eileen from 22A02. Eileen will be showcasing to us her passion and exhilarating talent for Chinese dance that she herself has choreographed. Titled 镜中渊, translated as Abyss in the Mirror. Take it away, Eileen.
Hi, I'm Eileen from 22A02. At the age of 3, my parents introduced me Chinese dance by setting me up with dance lessons. Initially, I had not yet developed a key sense of interest in dance, and only attended these dance lessons due to my parents' encouragement. I had saw it a duty for me to perfect my dance move so as to attain medals in competitions. Despite various difficulties, I pushed through. Discipline and commitment put me through until the end of my formal dance training. At the age about I turned 11. But it was actually when high expectations and pressures were taken off my shoulders that allowed space for my passion to be ignited. I had started to view dance from a different perspective, a form of art to express my emotions. I started to embrace the spotlight and revive my commitment and passion to dance. Here's a saying in Chinese, 台上1分钟，台下10年功, which means a minute of performance on the stage requires 10 years of hard work. Now, with my strong passion in dance, I would like to share with you a traditional Chinese dance and I hope all of you will enjoy.
Thank you, Vivian, for that spectacular performance. Well, now we have our first speaker for today, Napim, or many of us know her as Ice from 21A04. Well, this fellow classmate of mine has a compelling story of growing up as an international student here in Singapore as well as in Canada. Born in Thailand, she has a diverse experience, both the good and the bad, that helped her shape herself as a person to who she is today. So let us welcome Ice with a speech titled Looking Beyond the Horizon.
Hi everyone, my name is Ice, and in 2020, I think a lot of people started talking about the new normal, and I kind of despised it. Because what do you mean you have to stay home and not go outside and what, even worse, not travel overseas? I think if there's one thing that we can all unanimously agree about the COVID pandemic, is that it has taken away so many opportunities from us. So I was one of those people who, when the borders started opening and Singapore also started opening our borders, I celebrated. So actually, a lot of people know that I'm an international student from Thailand. But a lesser known fact about me is that I've also spent a little bit of my time in Canada as an international student. And it's a great experience being a student from a developing country and having this opportunity to go and study abroad in a developed country with the safest and one of the best education systems in the world, like Canada and Singapore. So for the next few minutes, I'd just like to share my experience as a student in Thailand, Canada, and Singapore. So let's start first with Thailand, because that's where I grew up from. I received about 10 years of education in Thailand, and one of the things that really struck me about Thailand is that we have a lot of school events. And especially with the hindsight of going through the COVID pandemic, as well as going to other schools in other countries, I can tell you that Thailand is jam-packed with events throughout the whole year. So ranging from multiple inter-school competitions, multiple musical productions, multiple concerts, and even a sports week instead of sports day where we just have no classes and we just have inter-class sports instead. I can say that these experiences and school events actually helped me to form communities of people that have the same passion and have the same interests, and we form these communities and experiences to share our passion and eventually become better people as we help each other to grow. But it's also unfair to say that because, well, we have so many events, right? That means that we're a little bit less focused on academics. And this is why. Exams only constitute about 40% of your final grades, while the other 60% are homework, projects, quizzes, and class conducts. And what does this mean? Basically, it means that if you don't do so well for your exams, for example, your CT or your BTs, you can technically just, turn up to school on time, hand up your homework on time, and you can still kind of recover for those bad grades. But that's also unfair because I can't say that, oh, my experience in Thailand is just good food, always school events, and never studying. That's not true. I think there's also parts about Thailand that as much as I love Thailand, I have to admit that it's not the best. Thailand doesn't have the best living conditions in the world, and here are some stats to back me up. So Thailand ranked third in having the most firearms-related homicide in 2000, second in having the deadliest roads in the world, and first in being the most economically unequal place in the world. And I have my own fair share of experiences in having stumbled across near accidents, crossing the road or even on the sidewalk where like a motorbike would just come out of nowhere and almost hit me. And I think that's one of the not so good aspects about Thailand. But interestingly enough, actually, is the fact that even with all these conditions, Thailand is ranked the 6th happiest place in the world. And I'm not really sure where this positivity comes about, but if I have to mention one thing, is that marijuana is legal in Thailand. So, well, you can put 2 and 2 together and figure that out. But anyways, that's my Thai experience. Thailand is a culturally rich country with very, very fun and happy people, despite not having the best circumstances. But I think that's what inspired me to actually look for something that's different and something that's maybe better. And that's why in 2016 I went to Canada to study for a semester. So I spent about 2 to 3 months in Canada, and I think one thing that struck me from the get-go was actually the fact that Canada is even less academically demanding compared to my curriculum in Thailand. So I was placed in this grade 9 algebra class, which is basically something equal to a Sec 3 math lesson. And this is what was taught in that grade 9 algebra class. And in case, because we're all in JC, we may have forgotten how a Sec 3 math lesson looks like. This is what's tested for a Sec 3 E-math class. So I'll let you see the difference and compare it for yourself. Needless to say, I wasn't very stressed about doing well in academics when I was in Canada. But a bigger highlight from living in Canada actually was my first experience with racism. So a little bit of context is that I came from Thailand, and it's a very racially homogenous country. And what that means is that everyone is Thai. So if everyone is Thai, you can't really be racist to your own people. So when I wanted to go out with my other Asian friend in Canada, her mom offered to pick me up, and she was a little bit late. And my host grandma, who's Caucasian, she saw that this person was late, and she also saw that this person is Asian. And before I left my house, she told me that I should have told her that the person picking me up was Asian, because Asians aren't really on time. And I think the irony kind of left her that I'm also Asian, and she's saying this to me. But, well, that's my first experience of racism. But that's not to say that Canadians are racist. I think, no, not at all. Canadians are actually one of the friendliest and nicest people I've ever met. And I think the fact that those 3 months are one of the best months of my life, and that my temporary stay in Canada still allowed me to form really friendly communities that accepted me as who I am, and I am still in contact with today, is actually a testament of how welcoming and accepting Canadian people are. And fast forward a few years, I came to Singapore. And well, Singapore is a unique place with a lot of very driven people. And well, that's a great thing, because that's what moves us forward, that's what motivates us. But I won't spend so much time talking about Singapore, because I think we all know how Singapore is like. But if there's one thing that I want to note as a foreigner in Singapore, is that we don't give enough credit for Singapore for being a place of opportunities. I mean, of course, we can always talk about how inequality still kind of exists in Singapore, or how we always discuss in GP classes how meritocracy may be failing. But I won't comment on that, because at the end of the day, I moved to Singapore because I wanted to find more opportunities. And I did find that in Singapore. Education is more standardized, and there are more opportunities given out in terms of academics, CCA, or anything you can think of. I think I've received more than I could have had if I stayed in Thailand. And this is kind of what I want you to take away from today. We all live in our own insulated little bubbles within our own communities. And because sometimes we're stuck in a place for so long, we kind of notice the flaws in the places we live in. And then we start to see that, oh, the grass on the other side must be greener. And I used to be like that. I used to dislike Thailand a lot. And I used to look up to all these countries like Singapore and Canada, and I just thought that it would have been so much better if I was born here instead. And then I moved to these places. I moved to Canada, I moved to Singapore, and I have to admit that there are things that Thailand actually does better, but there are also things that Singapore and Canada do better. But, I mean, the thing that I found out most is that picture-perfect idea of like the perfect country, the best country, it never really exists. And sometimes we're just so caught up focusing, hyper-fixating on these flaws that we forget to see what we take for granted, and we forget to realize that actually the grass here on our own lawn is already pretty green. And I think that's what I love about being an international student and living in so many different countries, because I get to explore and discover more about myself. And I didn't mean it in a touristic sense that, oh, I go and travel in this country for a week and go to see all the nice tourist attractions, because in that way, you don't really get to see the communities or the people or the culture, and you don't get to immerse yet into the culture of those countries. But if you go there and maybe you live there for a few months or a year or a few years, you get to form the communities with people around you, and you get to experience more about how the life is like there, and you can compare it to your own experience in your own home country. And I did that, and I experienced that through navigating through these busy hallways in the Canadian high school, and missing my bus for the first time, and 2 years ago, sitting anxiously waiting for my O-level results, waiting to see which JC I can end up in. And all these experiences would not have happened if I stayed in Thailand. And that's one thing that I think everyone should also take away, is that because we all kind of have these opportunities taken away 2 years ago, I think it's almost time for us to actually start looking again, because COVID is ending and air travel is starting again. This is the revival of the world we used to know 2 years ago. And I think there's so many places that are waiting for you to explore. So if maybe after today's event, you can just take a little bit of that time, look a little bit further than Singapore, and maybe some places are still waiting for you to explore, and you just have to look a little beyond that horizon. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. That really touched me. And as well as opened my eyes to the unique experience you went through, as well as reminding me to the need to step up and have a look. Well, over the last 2.5 years or so, many of us had our own darker moments. It could be due to the pandemic or other non-related matters, but whatever the case may be, we hope to be able to step into the light and be rejuvenated again with hope and enthusiasm for better days. And that is exactly what we will hear next. A song by Noah Cyrus, Dear August, performed by Ethel from 22 AO2. Let us welcome her on stage, hear about her passion and effort at honing her musical craft, and how music has given her and the people around her newfound hope. Ethel, please.
Good afternoon, teachers and fellow saints. I am Ethel from 22 AO2. Even when I was still in kindergarten, music has always been my passion. I absolutely adored all forms of music, from classical to pop, soft rock, country, and many more. Eventually, I started to write my own songs and even sang covers of songs that really piqued my interest. And that is one of the reasons why I am saying Dear August by Noah Cyrus today. Dear August is actually a love letter to the future, hoping that there will be light on the other side even through all that we're facing. So I hope that even though we may be going through some tough times, we will be able to get a sense of revival through this song and look towards the future positively. Thank you.
definitely plucked and strung in my heartstrings. In the trials and tumultuous turbulences in our own lives, we can write such a love letter to the future, helping us to revive and renew ourselves here on out. Well, now that we're halfway through this event, it's perhaps appropriate to change the pace a little. Let's talk about something I personally, as a humanities student, don't really study. But to our next speaker, this is something really worth spending an enormous amount of time on. Let our next speaker, Chan Lee from 21S10, explain to us how he derives joy from the learning of science. Lee, please.
Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chan Lee from 21S10 and thank you very much for the introduction. Now, I'm here of course today to talk about science. Scary word. I can see that some of you are ready to leave this venue right away. Please don't worry, it's not science lecture. I'm not here to torture you like that. I am someone who really loves science, but of course, there's something else about me that you should know, is that I really don't like studying that much. Seems quite contradictory. How can someone who loves science doesn't like studying? But the reality is that I really dislike having to do endless tutorial questions and assignments and tests and so on, one after the other, despite still being very much interested in learning new scientific concepts. And of course I thought long and hard about this question, this contradiction in my mind. And I came to a simple conclusion, one that any student regardless of your age, would be able to come up with just by studying for a little while. And that is that studying is not that fun. But learning science should be fun. And I say that it can definitely be fun as well for everyone. And how shall that work? I shall demonstrate with you and throughout my speech today how I personally derive joy from science and to hopefully revive your interest in this little, strange and charming but somewhat misunderstood subject. Now, of course, credit where credit is due, studying is very important, so remember to study, because studying helps you reinforce some standardized, modular chunks of knowledge. And by doing this, it's good for, exams like A-levels, for example, because you train the same thing over and over, you build a routine, a habit. But the sad thing is that unless you're going to have a career that uses science, it's very unlikely that you're going to remember anything you studied like years ago when you were a student. To be honest, I used to take history elective back in O-levels, and it's only been like, what, 1-2 years, and I've already forgot most of the content. What's the Cuban Missile Crisis? I don't remember. But I only remember like what this thing called, like, I think the Banana Republic. It sounds so funny that I just have to remember. And that is one big key point, fun. We like to remember things that are funny. Things that are fun encapsulate and it grabs our attention. And so we turn to some of the best scientists in the world. Children. People say that children are the best scientists because they have a lot of fun and they are very curious about the world. They have this one character, one trait, one quality that every single person who loves science should possess, and that is playfulness. Playfulness gives the children the ability to see very much fascinating observations in their daily life. They can look at things and say, oh wow, that's interesting. And children can be fascinated by anything. After having these observations, they get curious about the world. And after being curious, they start guessing about what might happen if they play around it. And by that, they start to play, which is the most important part of this process. But of course, the later parts are still important. They start to refine their understanding, and then they consolidate their knowledge, which helps to inform further and better insights to allow them to see more things than they could previously. And of course, in case you haven't noticed, I've tricked you again. This is actually a scientific method again. How curious that children have accidentally stumbled upon the same way that actual scientists do their work. But of course, with all of these talk of it being fun and all that, there's one thing that you should know, that this is a virtuous cycle. The more fun you have with science, the better you are at it because you want to do more of it and you're motivated to do more. And the better you are, the more fun you have with it because now you see things from perspectives that you could not previously. And with all of these talk about fun out of the way, let's actually have some fun. So here I prepared for you one of my personal favorite demonstrations. It's quite simple. And if I have to say, it's probably the first demonstration, the first physics lesson I've ever had. And it involves a rather simple trick. This trick is so simple, in fact, that I've seen it many times, and I'm sure most of you have as well. It involves a, well, I think it's a magician trying to pull things off of the table. It usually involves a heavy object, in this case have a jar, and a tablecloth. In this case, I represented with a piece of paper. And of course, everyone knows, and everyone sees it many times, if I pull the piece of paper out very fast, nothing moves at all. That's very understandable and intuitive, because the jar is, it feels heavy. It doesn't like to move around. If I push it, it stops moving after I'm done with it, so I have to convince it to move. But of course, the jar has a different property. If you think outside of the box, or in this case outside of the jar, and you put it sideways like this, now the jar has a very big tendency to move, because now just with the slight bit of motion, you can convince it to move for quite a fair bit. So this is where the interesting and the playful part of my childish mind came into play, because I try to consider what happens if this little jar here can be allowed to grow on the same experiment. So there are a few things that can happen here. One, because I'm pulling it backwards, the jar will go backwards. Makes sense, right? But two, also consider, because I'm pulling it from down here, there's a clockwise fault, or in other words, it has a tendency to roll, and when it rolls forward if you look at the direction. And lastly, well, of course, there's the ability of something else might happen. Who knows? That's what science was. So let's take a quick look at the audience. Now, audience, what do you think? You think it will be the first option, where it will roll backwards? Please raise your hand if you think so. Oh, incredible. No one thinks it will roll backwards. Despite exactly what you think. But something that's very counterintuitive. Surprising. Maybe you have a lot of scientists in the audience. Now, what about the second option? It will roll forward. Okay, I can see some hands here and there. Right, okay. Third option is probably the simplest option, is that something else happens. Science is always unexpected. Oh yeah, okay, right. And of course, lastly, the rest are too shy to answer, of course. I guess they'll use this. Right, so of course, one of the most important parts is to play. So, 3, 2, 1. The jar does not move at all. Not even a single bit. It's the exact same experiment as before. I've actually, again, the physics is actually the same. But of course, having your guesses and having your expectations betrayed in such an instant gives you a sense, really curiosity, I have to put it. Why did that happen? Why did nothing change? Why did, despite the jar liking to roll a lot more, did it not move at all when I tried to pull it? And these are the same questions that the young me also had when he was younger. And I tried to do painful calculations, and you don't want to see any of them here. But regardless, now with my knowledge, I basically understood this process. But that doesn't mean that I've understood everything, because in my personal life, I also have a lot of other questions that I like to do. You can see here a few other problems I've worked on. Basically, one where it involves a ball and a cylinder trying to roll around, and investigated how exactly the behavior is roll. Here's another one involving I had too many coins in my pocket and I tried to flip a lot of them, how many of them like heads, how many of them like tails. And here's yet another one on I was too bored during a math lesson and tried to figure out okay, what if I have a discrete random variable, but make it there's infinite amount of them. Of course, much as I like to play and play around with these sort of things, these sort of playfulness not only helps me have fun in my personal life, because it's really a lot of fun to be able to do all these working out. You'd be surprised how much fun you get, even if you don't like math that much. But it also helps me in my more formal and serious scientific work, such as in the time where I tried to develop a algorithm communication technique where I accidentally stumbled upon a better way to store data, just like playing checkers, basically. But of course, don't just take it from me. Even the greatest minds in history have derived a lot of even greater insights just from playing around. Einstein said that one of his happiest thoughts was seeing and imagining a man witnessing two cars crashing into each other at the speed of light. Quite a strange guy he is. Archimedes tried to go into the bathroom with his crown on, and tried to play around in the bathtub to discover the buoyancy forces. And of course, all of these examples are but some in many of the history of sciences. And of course, we are not as brilliant. Well, I'm not sure, some of you might be the next genius, I don't know. But 99.9999%, we are not as brilliant as these minds in history. But there's something that we can share in common with them, and that is the playfulness attitude that they all have had. And with enough trial, with enough fun, and with enough luck, some of us here might have the next eureka moment. So this is the part where I'm supposed to wrap something up, because it's the conclusion. The journey and the demonstration so far, hopefully, have given you an understanding of how not only my journey, of general science students' journey and his approach to science how I derive joy from learning, doing, and of course having fun with science, and how that all ties in to not only the things I do outside of school, but also helps me reinforce the things that I already learned at school. So it's like a cheat code to learning. You have some fun, and you also get to be better at your school knowledge. So to carry on, because I'm a science student, I can't think of any analogy. Let's say Newton. Newton's third law once states that any force will have, of course, an opposite and equal in magnitude reaction force. The more force and the more effort we put in investing the amount of time, effort into having fun with science, science will of course return us with that same amount of reward. And if we are observant, thoughtful, and curious, science rewards us with bountiful things such as fascinating phenomena, enriching insights, and of course, most importantly, a fun time. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Lee. I think you definitely infected me with your enthusiasm for science. Well, next up, we have the all-new student interest group called SAKD, K-pop dance. No, they're not part of the SAJC Dance Society, but their own student-led initiative group, who have a deep passion and interest for K-pop dance. The K-pop SIG meets regularly to choreograph, learn from each other, and in settings not always favorable. But despite that, we want to celebrate them and their efforts and let them talk briefly about their story, and then enjoy their rendition of Hot Sauce by NCT. SAKD.
Hi everyone, I'm Shuhan from 22ISO1, founder of our new student interest group, SAKD. SAKD stands for SA K-pop dance, so we mainly focus on K-pop dance cover. Our interest group is not compulsory. It is only the passion that groups us together to do what we love. We all love the collaboration when we do the formation of a piece of dance, as well as the energetic moves along with the lively music. We aim to provide all the students an opportunity to develop a new talent or hobby, especially for those who want to dance but do not know how to start. Next performance is from our group, and it is the first time that we have a chance to stand in front of the audience. And I hope you can feel the energy and love in our dance. And if you are interested in joining our group, we welcome everyone at any time. Thank you, and please enjoy.
What you want, I
Next up is something that you have probably seen and have played before, and that is chess. Here today we have someone who is top 5 in his age group, ranking 2200 in online accounts as well as being top 20 in the National Chess Championships, and that is Ian Chua. This accomplished player will share his journey as a chess player and what he had learned, thus reviving and solidifying his personality. Take the stage, Ian.
So before I start, I would just like to ask you all to take a look at this slide. I'm sure many of you recognize this game. It's called chess. International chess, to be precise. So I'm sure that many of you have heard of chess before, be it from the Netflix show Queen's Gambit, popular streamer Hikaru Nakamura, world champion Magnus Carlsen, or the recent news of a chess robot breaking a boy's finger. But apart from these representations in the media, how much more about chess do you actually know? My name is Ian, and I'm a JC2 from SAJC. Today on Saint Spotlight, I will be sharing with you about my chess journey beyond the 64 squares. What chess has taught me, and how my experience and knowledge can apply to you, just like how it has performed wonders for me. So just for some background, I started playing chess at the age of 8 years old. My primary school had offered an introductory program and I joined with my friends. From the age of 8 to now, I play chess regularly. In real life, online, and even traveling overseas just for some tournaments. Exactly how much chess have I played? Online alone, over 6,000 games. So, what has chess taught me that perhaps school may not have been that successful at? I've had many people ask me, why do you play chess? Isn't it just a board game? Well, no. Chess is much more than that. Chess has positively impacted my way of thinking, and it has shaped my personality to become what it is today. First of all, critical thinking. Playing chess sharpens my mind, sparks creativity, and improves decision making. Be it game lasting 3 hours or just 3 minutes, the process of playing, move after move, pushes my mind beyond boundaries that sometimes I never knew existed. I see the small details, the nuances, the drawbacks of playing one move over another. This is similar to real life, where I have to evaluate the decisions that I make and the options that I have. An example, I have to choose which university I want to apply to in the US, or the course that I want to go to. Next, empathy. Playing chess improves my interaction with others. This point may seem quite counterintuitive, for chess doesn't base its focus on interacting with others. But think about it this way. Chess is a game that everybody can play. Throughout my experience of playing chess, both local and overseas, I've met people from all backgrounds. People of all races, ages, financial stability. And we all bond over the one game of chess. Be it talking after our games, or training at the same facility. These interactions, at one, widened my social circle, and two, help me better understand the lives of others beyond my own. Now, the last point, and perhaps the most important one of all, is that chess teaches me perseverance. Chess teaches me that hard work is one of the most important skills in life that I need to have in order to succeed. In chess, you can't quite really be lucky. You can't spot a game, just like how you might do with a question in an examination. But otherwise, chess requires grit, hard work, constant preparation. Chess also helps to condition me to take both my wins and losses in positive ways. After a loss, I learn to recover. I learn to take each new game as a new one and play to the best that I can. It is with these three traits, critical thinking, empathy, perseverance, that I encourage you guys to try out chess. Be it for a few games, a few weeks, a few months, or perhaps even make it a permanent hobby. I have first-hand experience the many things that chess has to offer, I can guarantee you that it will help you guys out too. Now, to me, chess will always be a passion as well as a form of competition. Throughout the past 10 years, neither my secondary school nor at SAJC is chess considered a CCA. Yet, I take it upon myself to improve my chess skill and join tournaments. Why? Out of sheer passion, perhaps. Much of this joy was derived when I was playing chess as a kid. And of course, it is difficult to improve chess without structured lessons or a coach. But when passion is involved, many boundaries can indeed be broken. Here are some of my notable awards, experiences, people that I've met over the past 10 years. And as you can see, many of these were indeed happened before the COVID-19 period. And unfortunately, during the COVID-19 period, I took quite a hiatus from chess because many competitions weren't allowed to be played because of the COVID restrictions. But during my JC experience, I have revived my love for chess, and I incorporate playing chess into my weekly schedule. In fact, at my most recent competition, as you guys might know, in the National School Games, I added 2 more medals to my trophy collection. I hope that after A-levels end, I will join more competitions, and if I play well, I will even be able to represent Singapore at the national level. Now, the next point, competition. I'll be honest, competitive chess is very tiring. It requires months of constant preparation before the tournament, and the tournament lasts 1 entire week. Each game is about 3 hours of you and your opponent sitting there playing 1 game of chess. Sounds tiring? It is. But while these chess tournaments can be tiring, it is also very exciting. The whole point of preparing months and months and then applying your knowledge in an actual game gives me nerves and adrenaline that I have experienced nowhere else. It's even better when you manage to control your emotions and beat a much stronger player. Besides, this doesn't just happen in real life tournaments. It happens online. Sometimes I find myself shaking when I'm moving the mouse to move the chess piece. And here are some of my most notable victories against grandmasters, international masters, FIDE masters, renowned chess players from all around the world. On a final note, I would just like to say that if you have a passion, do not let your environment distract you from pursuing it. Life is much more than the academics, the rankings, the materialistic pursuits, but instead about the interests, the passions, the joys, the intangible. If you have a passion and perhaps you set it aside due to the pandemic or the academics, I urge you to revive that passion and make your life much fuller than just the rank points and the materialistic pursuits. And with that, I end my presentation and hope that you will learn something from what I shared today.
Thank you, Ian. Well, last but not the least, we have my favorite, Jaden He. Well, you probably have seen him sing during Teachers' Day last year or even on TikTok. Jaden has accumulated over 20,000 likes and in doing so has embarked on his journey of growth and empowerment. He'll be performing Ghost by Justin Bieber. Well, I mean, that's enough for me. Let's give our hands to Jaden.
Hello, yes, my name is Jaden, and so for the longest time I've actually been afraid. I've been afraid to perform and whatnot. I have stage fright. Yeah, so kind of nervous now, but that's okay. Yes. Mic's kind of falling. Oh, I think it's okay. Yeah, so basically, so like I said, for the longest time I've always had stage fright. So the idea of me standing on stage or even posting myself online has really scared me because of my insecurities and my, I've always never been really very confident. And then, so I never really feel good enough and didn't have the confidence, So when I was 15, I saw my senior actually sing in front of me because I was in choir and he sang. And I thought he sounded really nice, so it kind of motivated me to do music. And so I tried my best to do better in music and all that. So I tried to do better, and then so I would record myself and I would sing in the shower and all that, and slowly I started noticing some improvements in my voice. And so I decided to post myself on Instagram and TikTok, and I think the comments really motivated me to do, they encouraged me to post more and do better. Because it was very positive feedback. So now I am here, ready to perform Ghost by Justin Bieber for all of you. Okay.
But if I can be close to you, and I won't settle for the ghost of you. I'll miss you more than life. I'll miss you more than life. Younger things, there's always tomorrow. Miss your touch on my turn, I'm hollow. And then cross the bridge that I can follow. Since the love that you left is all that I get, I want you to know that if I can be close to you, and I'll settle for the ghost of you. I miss you more than life. And if you can't be next to me, your memory is ecstasy. I miss you more than life. I miss you more than life. Younger things, there's always tomorrow. I need more time, but time can't be borrowed. And leave it all behind if I could follow. But since the love that you left is all that I get, I want you to know that if I can be close to you, then I'll settle for the ghost of you. I miss you more than life. And if you can't be next to me, your memory is ecstasy. I miss you more than life. I miss you more than life. But if I can't be close to you, I'll settle for the ghost of you. I miss you more than life. And if you can't be next to me, your memory is ecstasy. And I miss you more than life.
Okay.
Let's give another round of applause for Jada. Thank you. And after seeing all those wonderful people stepping up onto the daunting spotlight, I really am heartfelt and enjoyed every single one of them. Did you? Yeah! Of course. Okay. So I hope today's stories, sharings, and performances of Revival have allowed you to see what a small proportion of our student body can do. Their talents, deep passions, and hard work. So if they can do such great things, so can you. Well, before we depart from today, I would like you to scan this QR code to leave some words of encouragement to those who performed and who spoke today. This will really help affirm their efforts as well to improve on future events, especially considering this is the first ever SAJC Spotlight. And with your help, we hope that this can happen again next year. Moments, yes, got it? Yes, okay. Okay, and with that, I think that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you for spending time and coming down to support all of us. Goodbye. Let's give another round of applause for all those in the front. Okay, let's just let's take a performance. Let's take a group together.